hey, so let's look at a cosine graph. So cosine graph, again, we're going to go off the unit circle. And unit circle just gives us these, what cosine of x is. The unit circle is not a graph of the cosine. The unit circle is a graph of a circle. It's the x squared plus y squared equals 1. So we're using the unit circle to find out what cosine of different things are. So we're going to go ahead again and draw out one period of it. And we're going to see what one period of it looks like. And we're going to say that, start again at 0, because we know where 0 is. 0 is here. And at 0, again, these go alphabetical order, so cosine, sine. At 0, our cosine of 0 is 1. So we actually start up here. Next thing that we kind of get to is pi over 2. So I'll put a pi over 2 in. And I'll put a pi in. Oh, just pi. I'll put in a 3 pi over 2, because that's the bottom one. And 2 pi. So next one that we get to is pi over 2. At pi over 2, my cosine is 0. And let's look at this, because this circle looks like it's increasing, right? But don't forget, cosine is the x. If I'm looking at this in terms of my x starts off at 1, and as I go up, it's actually getting closer and closer to 0. So my x is getting closer to 0. So here, my cosine graph should be starting at 1 and getting closer to 0. Let's go over to pi. At pi, oh my gosh, it's all the way down to -1 all of a sudden, because again, cosine's my x. Now let's look at this section of the circle. My x is negative, and my x is getting pretty large negative. It starts close to 0. As it goes further along, it goes all the way out to -1. So my x is negative. At 3 pi over 2, it gets back to 0. And at 3 pi over 2, my x is still negative, still negative, still negative, but getting closer to 0. So still negative, but getting closer to 0. Then as I go back up to 2 pi, my x is positive now, which is good. And it's getting pretty large positive. It's getting positive all the way up to 1. So my graph of cosine is going to look something like that. And again, it's a little hard to see than a sine graph because we're looking at the x's. But we can see again that my period is 2 pi. So period of a regular cosine graph is 2 pi. Because it's not going to start repeating again until we start going around the circle again. So I could draw this out to 4 pi. It would look the exact same thing because I'd just be going around the circle again. And this also has an amplitude. The amplitude of this is like sine, just 1. And like sine, if I put something in front of the cosine, it's going to change the amplitude. If I put something in front of the x inside the cosine, it's going to change the period. So let's see what that looks like.